My wife doesn't love me anymore. And I think she's having an affair. Hi everyone. This is gonna be a long post. I need to get this off my chest because the last year has completely turned my life upside down. I'm still processing everything, and I'm hoping that by writing it all out, I might find clarity. Maybe even a bit of peace. I've been holding so much in for so long. Background. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 4. We met through our jobs and clicked almost instantly. Our relationship was built on shared interests, emotional connection, and mutual support. We rarely fought. I can honestly count on one hand the number of real arguments we've had over the years. We were one of those couples who always seemed in sync. We traveled, cooked together, worked out, laughed a lot. When we had our daughter 3 years ago, it felt like the final piece of our little puzzle fell into place. We bought our first condo, and my wife took a year off work to be home with our daughter. She told me being a mother changed her. She'd always wanted just one child, but now she was open to having another. Things felt complete. When her maternity leave ended, she decided to return to work part-time to strike a balance between her career and spending time with our daughter. She was okay with the compromise, but I could tell she wasn't fulfilled in that role. She's incredibly smart and driven, and I knew she had more to offer than what her position allowed. Big change. About a year ago, she applied for a very senior position at a new company. On paper, she didn't check every box for the role, but I encouraged her to go for it. I told her, if you can just get the interview, you'll win them over. She did exactly that, nailed the interview and got the job. Her salary nearly doubled. It was a huge win for her and I was incredibly proud. But it came at a cost. Her new role required her to work 5 days a week, including 1 weekend day. That meant we went from having 3 to 4 days off together to just 1. I work 4 10-hour days myself, so our overlap became minimal. We discussed it beforehand and agreed we could make it work, especially with the added financial stability. I took on more of the childcare duties and household responsibilities. Within 3 months of starting, one of her team members quit, doubling her workload. She began staying late, logging back on after dinner, and obsessively checking emails. I supported her, but I could see the toll it was taking. At the same time, I was going through an emotionally difficult patch at work. When I tried to open up to her, she brushed me off. I felt invisible, like there was no space for my feelings in our relationship anymore. So I shut down. The drift. In February, she confronted me. She told me she was frustrated that I wasn't helping enough around the house. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. I had slipped. I was tired, emotionally numb, and started escaping into video games at night instead of engaging with her or our life. I still cared for our daughter, cleaned and managed the day-to-day, but I stopped cooking and lost motivation. That was my mistake. I thought I could hide from the stress. I thought things would just even out. But something had shifted in her too. By September, she was emotionally distant. I'd talk about family trips or the holidays, and she'd dismiss them like they didn't matter. Sex became rare and, when it happened, mechanical. The intimacy we once shared felt dead. Then came the moment that changed everything. D-Day. One evening in the kitchen, I could sense something was seriously off. I asked her if she was okay. After a few prods, she looked at me and said, "I'm not happy anymore. I don't love you." Broke. Collapsed in tears. We got in the car and talked for hours. Or rather, I talked and she remained cold, clinical. She told me she felt we had become roommates, and that I wasn't emotionally developed enough. She brought up the video games as evidence of me checking out. And honestly, she was right about that. I had checked out for a while. But I didn't know it was this bad. I begged her to try therapy, and she agreed. More for our daughter's sake than for us. That night was the most painful of my life. The person I adored, who I built a life and a family with, no longer loved me. I felt like I was grieving a death that hadn't even happened yet. Trying to win her back. Over the next 6 weeks, I changed, deeply. I started cooking every night. Cleaned obsessively. I deleted social media and started reading self-help books, mindfulness guides, marriage books, anything I could get my hands on. I did the emotional work. My therapist even said I'd made tremendous strides in a short time. I became more present, more attuned. I started listening to my wife in ways I never had before. But something was off. She barely acknowledged any of it. When I left her a heartfelt love letter, she replied by text. "Got your email. Thanks, X." That was it. Like I was a colleague sending her a spreadsheet, not her husband pouring out his soul. I knew then. Something was seriously wrong. The suspicions. Her phone behavior changed. It was always face down, always with her, even in the bathroom. She started running with her boss after work, someone she never really talked about at home. She seemed more detached after those runs. When I confronted her about turning off her phone before a shower, she lied and said it shut off automatically. When I pressed, she claimed it was to hide messages from her best friend, supposedly about us. That didn't sit right. 2 days before D-Day, she invited me to a black tie work dinner. I'd been asking to come to one for ages, and she finally agreed. But something felt weird. She told me we shouldn't be affectionate at the event. I understood the professional boundaries, but her tone felt cold. That night, I watched her from across the room. She kept looking at her boss. Not just glances, longing, intense looks. He'd catch her eye, then glance at me and look away. I recognized that behavior because I used to do the same thing when I first fell in love with her. When we got home, I confronted her. She didn't deny it. She didn't admit it either. She just said I was imagining things. I wasn't. I told her I believed she was emotionally involved with her boss. Maybe more. She tried to play dumb, asking, "What do you mean by emotional affair?" But I know my wife. She's intelligent. She knew exactly what I meant. Conclusion for now. I'm not done writing this. There's more to come. The final D-Day revelation happened the next day, and I'll share that soon. But right now I just needed to get this part out. If you've made it this far, thank you. I don't know where this is headed. Maybe divorce, maybe reconciliation, maybe something entirely different. But I do know one thing. Changed. I've grown. And no matter what happens, I will continue being the best father I can be. And rebuild myself from here. It sounds like you're in a very difficult and emotionally complex situation, where your wife's actions have led to a painful shift in your relationship, but you're also grappling with feelings of personal growth and an underlying desire to reconcile. From what you're saying, it seems that you've had moments where your wife has acted in ways that felt more familiar and positive, especially when she wasn't communicating with your boss. Those moments of connection might have made you feel like there's still a chance to mend things, or at least to find some clarity. But, at the same time, you're struggling with mixed emotions, particularly a lack of the anger you expected to feel in response to what she did. Instead, you're noticing a sense of growth within yourself that doesn't revolve around immediate anger, but more of a deeper understanding of the situation. It's completely understandable that you're torn between wanting to fix things and also questioning whether it's worth it in the long run. You've spent 9 years building a life together, which makes it even harder to think about possibly letting go, especially if there are still moments that suggest things could be salvaged. Your feeling of shame for not being angrier is a very real emotional response, but it also suggests you're working through the situation with a level of maturity. It doesn't mean you're excusing what she did, but rather that you're approaching this situation with the awareness that anger, while valid, isn't the only emotion that can lead to resolution. It's possible you're beginning to understand that healing doesn't always follow a clear path, and forgiveness, whether it's of her or of yourself, may take different forms. As for whether you can fix the situation, that's a question that really depends on both of you. It sounds like you're asking for advice from others who have gone through similar experiences, perhaps to get a sense of what your next steps should be. Here are a few things you could consider. Clear communication. Have an open, honest conversation with your wife about your feelings, fears, and what you envision for the future. Make sure she knows where you stand emotionally, and ask her to share how she feels about the situation. Couples counseling. If you both are willing, seeking professional help can give you a safe space to explore your feelings and rebuild trust if that's even possible. Sometimes, an objective third party can provide insights that help both of you understand each other better. Self-reflection. It might help to take some time for yourself to reflect on what you want, not just in this relationship but in your life moving forward. What are your core needs in a marriage, and how do they align with what's happening right now? Letting go or holding on. Ultimately, your wife will have to make her own decision, but it's important for you to decide if you're willing to continue trying or if it's time to let go. If you choose to keep trying, it will require both of you to be equally committed to rebuilding trust and understanding. But if you feel the relationship has run its course, it might be healthier for both of you to let it end and move forward separately. It's clear you're deeply reflective about your situation, and your approach to this seems rooted in a mix of empathy, self-awareness, and a desire to make the right decision. Trust yourself to navigate this, even if it's painful. No one can tell you what's best, but being honest with yourself and your wife is a step in the right direction.